Hey, it's Doug with Backcountry Pilgrim. Today I am looking at a new communication system that I am trying out from Rocky Talkie. This is the mountain radio. Better known as a walkie-talkie, this is a radio unit that is specifically built for the outdoors. I mean, check out the clip that this comes with. You've got a full climbing rated carabiner on here, plus a tether on a non-climbing rated carabiner. This little guy here is water resistant, drop resistant. The screen is protected by a see-through cover. This thing is very tough, very simple, has a long-lasting battery, and gives you the most power you can get in a non-licensed radio. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this, give you the specs, how it performs, and hopefully help you make a good decision about whether a Rocky Talkie mountain radio is something you would like to take with you out into the backcountry. Before I get into the specs on the Rocky Talkie mountain radio, I just want to talk about my user experience right out of the box. One of the things that really impressed me was that as a non-radio, non-walkie-talkie guy, I was able to take this out of the box, turn it on, and use it immediately. There is literally no setup whatsoever. If you have any idea how walkie-talkies work, I don't think you're going to have any trouble using this device. There's two controls on top and two on the side. Each one of them does two things. It does one thing if you press it, it does another thing if you press and hold. The most obvious button on top is the power button. You're going to hold that until it comes on. It gives you a little beep to alert you. You can turn this beep off if you find that annoying. You'll see that the screen immediately comes on. There's a toggle switch on the top that allows you to go up and down between channels. If you hold it down, it locks. If you hold it up, it scans. On the side, you got your talkie button. Press it to talk, let go to listen. And under that, you have volume. Volume up, volume down. If you hold the up volume for a while, you will go into high and low power modes on the walkie-talkie. You can just leave it on high most of the time, but if you find yourself in an emergency situation where you've really got to save your battery, possibly for days, you can go into low power mode. If you hold the down volume button, you unlock your privacy channels. So I just think of lower volume, it's more private. Higher volume, more power, that sort of thing. All right, so let's talk specs on this Rocky Talkie mountain radio. Instead of a plastic clip that can easily break off, Rocky Talkie gives you this carabiner. Now, this is no joke. This is not some plastic carabiner that you would get at a team building exercise at work. This is an ultralight Trango Quantum carabiner that is rated at 20 kilonewtons for climbing. So you could put 10,000 of these walkie-talkies on this thing and not have to worry about it breaking. And if you were really in a pinch, you could use this to save your life on a rope. In addition, you have a removable elastic leash and a plastic carabiner in case you drop the walkie. You're not going to lose it off the side of a cliff. As far as specs go, this is a 128 channel FRS license-free radio. It's got 2 watts of power, which is the maximum power legally allowed without a license. Rocky Talkie also makes a 5-watt walkie-talkie radio that does require a license. Now, according to their own testing, the 5-watt doesn't make a massive amount of difference. You might think it's more than twice as good, but the reality is most of the time all it does is clean up the signal a bit, although at the very fringes of the area that this is going to work, a 5-watt is going to work better. Now, how good is a 2-watt radio? Well, if you have line of sight, it's virtually limitless. However, if you are trying to communicate through forests or through or around hills, that's going to drop to maybe a half mile to 3 miles. This corresponds to about a mile in the city. One of the things Rocky Talkie did with the mountain radio is made sure that the battery was going to last. The mountain radio comes with a 1550 milliamp lithium-ion battery, rated for 4 days of battery life, even in very cold conditions down to -20 degrees. It's also able to function up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. It is a USB-C rechargeable lithium-ion battery rated at 1550 milliamps. Another thing that Rocky Talkie did with the mountain radio is made sure that this thing was very tough. Although it only weighs about 6 ounces, the Rocky Talkie mountain radio is very durable. The radio has a thermoplastic protective covering and a shatterproof LED display. And it is rated IP56, splash or snowproof. Now this means that the mountain radio can get rained on and splashed on, but it's really not supposed to go underwater. Oh no! Oops. How we doing, over?
American.
Fantastic. Yeah, I did that, but still works. So what is it like using one of these things? Well, for one thing, it's definitely a lot better than a phone because obviously in the backcountry, you're going to go to a lot of places where the phone is not going to get signal. Now, I use my phone for a lot of things, pictures, video, texting, you name it. I don't want to be running the battery down, having it constantly searching for signal so that I can use it as a communications device. Further, in an emergency situation, SAR is going to be able to contact me on one of these a lot better than they are going to be if I'm trying to use my cell phone. Now, I realize that today a lot of us are carrying satellite communicators. However, for real-time communications, a walkie-talkie is much better suited for the job. So it really just depends on what you're going to be doing. If I'm going out solo, I'm probably not going to be worried about carrying one of these. However, if I'm in a group, especially with some people that maybe are not as much in the outdoors as I am, or maybe they have some slightly different plans, it is so much easier to carry one of these, knowing that I've got 4 days of battery life and that I can just get on, figure out where people are. I'm not draining my phone. It is a very good system for that. It's just nice to be able to push a button and talk and not have to sit there and fumble around with my phone and hope that both of our signals are working and we both brought them and we have our ringer on. This just rides along. It works when it needs to, and it's quiet when it doesn't. Now that brings us to privacy codes. I mentioned earlier that you do have access to privacy channels with the Rocky Talkie mountain radio. For those of you that are not radio users, and I am not usually, and I just learned this, but a privacy channel is not quite as cool as you might think it is. It does not lock other people out from your conversation. In fact, it does the exact opposite. What a privacy channel does is it locks out anybody that isn't on your privacy channel on the main channel of the walkie-talkie. So suppose my hiking partner and I decide that we are going to be on channel 6. We get on channel 6, we start hiking, and all of a sudden we hear other people talking because they have walkie-talkies and they're using channel 6. Well, if my partner and I engage the privacy channel, we can lock out their conversation as long as they don't change their walkie-talkie to the same privacy channel. And although we are staying on the same main channel, we can hear each other, but we're not having to listen to anybody else. Now, the thing to keep in mind, though, is that anybody on channel 6 is still going to hear us unless they turn their privacy channel on. So the privacy channel is, in a sense, more of a way for you to get privacy from other people, giving other people their privacy, although it guarantees none for you. So just keep that in mind. Don't start saying something you don't want other people to hear just because you're on a privacy channel. However, if you are on a channel that's got a lot of crosstalk and noise, it's a good way to mute that out and increase the quality of your conversation. So how did this work? Well, my daughter and I took this camping. I had her walk pretty far down a valley trail. She got around a big corner. I couldn't see her anymore. We're shooting straight through granite and I could still hear her just fine. Now that's probably because it was bouncing off the valley walls, but it worked fantastically. Then to try out a little bit of distance, I gave my regular ultralight walkie-talkies and these to my 2 boys, and I went for a walk down the neighborhood. Went about maybe a quarter mile, half mile away. So lots of houses and cars in between. It never dropped even a little bit. I could still hear very clearly all the way at the other end of my walk. And in the mountains, if I'm that far away from my partner, something has probably gone pretty wrong. But it's good to know that the range on these is solid. Every single trip is so completely different. I might get 35 miles in Tahoe where I can see somebody on another mountain peak and then drop down into the valley in Yosemite and lose somebody right around a corner. And in several other test videos that I have seen by real radio people, the Rocky Talkie has consistently come out at the very top of the heap. So I'm about as confident as I can be about these. If I'm looking for a walkie-talkie to take out in the backcountry, this is the one I'm using. All right, I hope this video on the Rocky Talkie mountain radio has been helpful to you. If it has, why don't you give the video a like and subscribe to Backcountry Pilgrim if you are into hiking, camping, backpacking, and the gear that goes with it. Until next time, I'm Doug. Thanks for watching.